Hello all. Today I will show you how to use Nextcloud, how I use it, and how to protect the data. And we will start with protecting the data because I think this is most important part of Nextcloud. You can use Nextcloud, you can use other software, self-host, but if your data is not protected, then you can lose everything in just one go. So let's start with three ways, at least in my mind, that you can easily lose your data. First of all, your own mistakes. So I can delete folder by accident. Yeah, it happened not once, right? Then hardware can fail. Just hardware, disk can fail or something can go wrong, or maybe it won't connect anymore because you updated something. And then if you update the software like Nextcloud, it might have a bug, right? This bug might corrupt your data. So these are like three major ways that you might lose your data. And we are not even talking about, malware trying to encrypt everything. So how do we protect our data from all of that? And I have some data that is like 30 years old already. And like it started on VHS tapes. So the most important way is that you have a way to migrate your data, to copy your data to some other medium. It used to be like CD, DVD, uh, tapes, like, hard drives, maybe now SSDs, but you have to have it on somewhere, right? And you have to have ability to copy. You have to know how to copy this data somewhere else and verify that this copied data is still the same as the previous data. So now let's start and see how I use Nextcloud and these data protection principles to protect my own data. Let's start with overview of my setup. So I use my own hardware and I install Proxmox of it. Proxmox is virtualization platform, so it allows you to run multiple VMs or LXC containers. And obviously in these VMs you can run Docker containers and so on. And as input, I have my AJ proxy. It allows me to quickly switch traffic on various domains to multiple backend VMs and services. So this is kind of like my entry point. And then let's focus on LXC. So Nextcloud runs on LXC. It basically runs very bare on Nginx, Redis, and database. I don't use any, VMs provided or Docker provided by them, mainly because I started years ago and I started using Snap and it was slow. Then I went with this setup and setup was like really working really well. And just, I just stick with this setup. It's like, if it works so well, why to change it? And most important, data needs to be stored somewhere. So for that, I use this ZFS file system and two HDD using RAID1 for data volume. And additionally, to keep data even more safe, I periodically sync using Syncoid to my workstation backup drive. And then, clients can just connect as usual to Nextcloud. But this flow from like data through Syncoid to my workstation just gives me, peace of mind that my data is fully protected. On top of that, we can install plugin and applications in Nextcloud. For example, I have Whiteboard, Elasticsearch, OnlyOffice. They all kind of connected from Nextcloud to these containers, and then Nextcloud can be much more improved in terms of functionality. Very important part of this whole stack is file system. I use ZFS because it gives me ability to snapshot data really quickly and easily. So it's not like if you have 1 terabyte of data, suddenly you will have another terabyte because you need to keep snapshot or a backup. It's not a backup, it's a snapshot. So you can very easily go back in time with snapshot. And because ZFS offers you copy on write and ability to scrub your data to basically verify that your data is as it appears on disks, then it really gives you very high confidence that the data you have is correct. Basic ZFS commands are zpull and ZFS. So we can do zpull status. And here you see that I have two pools named local ZFS HDD and local ZFS NVMe. So both are mirrors. There's also a really important bit that is scrubbing mechanism. So this scrubbing mechanism, as you see around few weeks ago, it basically verified that all of my data is actually stored properly on these hard drives and like check some match. And in terms of my bigger pool, it took almost like 5 hours to run. Obviously just 13 minutes on an NVMe, which is much smaller, and also it's much faster. If now I want to see my snapshots, I can run this command ZFS list snapshot on this Nextcloud data volume in ZFS. And as you see, I have a lot of snapshots. So this is the most recent snapshot. It basically just is hourly, then I have daily. And this is all automated. And as you see, these snapshots take really not that much data. So I have like probably 100 snapshots here. So as you see, this is actual size of the data kept in that snapshot, but this is not growing that much. Here I added many gigabytes. So as you see, the data kept was much larger, but because I didn't really delete any data, I didn't need to store this data. I just, added additional data on top of the previous data. So snapshot is a really easy way to go back in time if something goes really wrong. How to set up these snapshots? The best way I found is using Sanoid Syncoid. It's a program that runs at the Proxmox level, like below your LXCs or VMs, and basically it automates ZFS pool snapshotting. So it's all configured in this file, in this Sanoid conf. You can basically tell it on this pool, use this template, and on HD pool, use this template, and how frequently you want to run snapshots, and how many months do you want to keep them, and so on. I found it like really useful because automation, you don't have to remember about it, and they are all there. Now let's move to backups. We can use this ZFS and Sanoid Syncoid to actually backup data really quickly, because ZFS has this ability to only send you a difference between the whole file system. Even if you have terabytes of data and you only added 1 gigabyte somewhere in this file system, you can just send this diff to your backup together with your snapshot as well. So this is like really useful functionality. But before we just give our backup user ability to do that, let's just add some protections so we don't delete original data while trying to do a backup of it. So now I will show you how I use Syncoid. So first of all, I want to protect Syncoid from deleting my pool accidentally if I do something really stupid. So first of all, I have this sudoers rule for backupping ZFS. I have given it only permissions to list and get and set snapshot plus additional as top and buffer, so it cannot use any other ZFS commands. Also, because it needs to be performed through SSH, I have this protection that I can use IP address, so only some IP addresses are allowed to run this command and connect. And additionally, I validate that Syncoid commands are actually the ones I expect. So I have this special script that additionally validates if this is really a Syncoid command. Not other commands are allowed to run as this user here. So that's basically the protection that can automate backups, and backups then whole ZFS pool will go to your backup drive wherever you have that on the internet. Now let's take a quick look at ZFS sync command. As we see here, this command has been interrupted, but it can be easily resumed. It's running over the internet, so it's important that we can do that because in this example I've been running this over several days. With all of that set up with ZFS, backups, snapshots, Sanoid, you are well prepared for any self-hosting. So now let's start with Nextcloud installation, and where can you find the installation instructions? You can use one of these installation methods provided on their documentation. So in my case, I did it years ago and just maintained it. I went with, first I tried Snap, but something was wrong with my LXC and Snap, and basically Nextcloud was not really that fast. I wanted something better. Then I went into this manual installation, basically when I have full control over Nginx and DB and PHP and everything. And that works like really, really well. So I will show you how upgrade process looks like and so on, but it's actually pretty simple. So just follow one of these methods and that will be it. At the end of your installation, you might want to verify your Nextcloud from outside. To do that, you can go to scan.nextcloud.com, type your domain name, obviously it needs to be TLS at this point, HTTPS, and then you will verify it. Important part, you have to trigger this rescan button. It's like if you do any config changes, you need to do that. Like a few minutes later, you go to that website, just refresh it, and then you see your latest and greatest result for that current configuration you might have. Nextcloud, as all of our software, needs to be kept up to date. And this is mostly manual process. You do it once you basically want to do it. And I recommend doing it from command line because even with web updater, you still sometimes need to go and do it from the command line. So for example, here we first enable maintenance mode, then we use updater command, and then we reply to questions. Do you want to start update, etc., etc., and it's doing its thing. As we see here, it updates all the applications as well that you may install next to Nextcloud. It's basically checking integrity. Then, yeah, again, we go to our instance. We skip just welcome page. And the important part, we go to administration page immediately after installation to see new warnings or security recommendations that Nextcloud provides. And in here, we see various recommendations. For example, we see that database is missing indices and the commands we need to run to actually add them, like add columns or add indices. So what we have to do here, we have to copy these commands and run them on our Nextcloud instance using OCC command. So again, we will just run this db add missing columns here command. Done. Then the same, we go here to add missing indices. And now we can refresh the page and see we have less warnings, right? So these warnings that we just fixed disappeared. Obviously, not all warnings are the same. So for example, here we will also fix expensive, like maintenance repairs expensive, but for video, I don't really care about high performance video. I don't use video with Nextcloud. So these kind of high performance video warnings are fine for me. So yeah, that's it. And we are ready to go with our latest installation of Nextcloud. After installation, you might want to install and configure some basic plugins or applications. So I always go to basic settings first. And what's important here, you have to use this cron, which will allow Nextcloud to run as this www data account. And then another important bit is to configure email server. So basically you get welcome email. If your users forget passwords, they will get reset links and so on. So you can also send email and email send, and then you can go to your address to actually verify that all your settings are correct. Another important bit that I want to configure is full text search. So I use search platforms, which is Elasticsearch. It's part of the separate topic. I have it configured separately, but you just need to provide an IP address, name of your index, and then basic information like, do you want to extract PDF files, extract Office files, and so on. Everything will be indexed by this Elasticsearch instance. Another one is for me whiteboard. Again, you provide shared secret here, you provide URL, you save, and basically you have to also have this whiteboard installed separately as well. And last, you can go to system and basically see how your system is performing, what is configured where. So for example, I have ZFS, and this is my current usage of ZFS, basically almost 3.5 million files here. This is my free space, load, and how much uptime this service has been running. That's all for today's video. You now have a solid foundation for hosting your own Nextcloud. If you have any further questions, please ask them in the comments. Thank you.